Excerpt from local newspaper. Ominous unknown killer is still at large. After weeks of unexplained murders, the ominous unknown killer is still on the rise. After little evidence has been found, a young boy states that he survived one of the young killer's attacks and bravely tells the story. I had a bad dream, and I woke up in the middle of the night. I saw that for some reason my window was open. No, I swore I remembered it being closed before I went to bed. I got up and shut it once more. Afterwards, I simply crawled under my covers and tried to get back to sleep. It was a school night. That's when I got a strange feeling. Like someone was watching me. I looked up and nearly jumped out of my bed. There, in a little ray of light illuminating between the curtains, were a pair of two eyes. These weren't regular eyes. They were dark, ominous eyes. They were bordered in black, and they just plain out terrified me. That's when I saw his mouth. A long, horrendous smile with every hair on my body standing up when I saw it. Finally, after what seemed like forever, he said it. Simple phrase, but in a way only a madman can speak. He said, "Go to sleep." I let out a scream, and that's what sent him at me. He pulled a knife, aiming at my heart. He jumped on top of my bed. I fought him back. I kicked, I punched, I rolled around trying to knock him off me. That's when my dad busted in. The man threw the knife. It went into my dad's shoulder, and the man probably would have finished him off if it weren't for the police that showed up. They drove into the parking lot and ran towards the door. The man turned and ran down the hallway. I heard a smash, like glass breaking. As I came out of my room, I saw the window that was pointing towards the back of my house was broken. I looked out to see him vanish into the distance. I can tell you one thing. I will never forget that face, those cold, evil eyes, and that psychotic smile. They will never leave my head. Police are still on the lookout for this man. If you see anyone that fits this description in the story, please contact your local police department. Jeff and his family had just moved into a new neighborhood. His dad had gotten a promotion at work, and they thought it would be best to live in one of those fancy neighborhoods. Jeff and his brother Lou couldn't complain, though. It was a new, better house, and what was not to love here? As they were getting unpacked, one of their neighbors came by. "Hello," she said. "I'm Barbara, and I live across the street from you. I just want to introduce myself, and also introduce my son." She turns around and calls her son over. "Billy, these are our new neighbors." Billy said hi and ran back in his yard. "Well," said Jeff's mom, "I'm Margaret, and this is my husband Peter, and my two sons, Jeff and Lou." They each introduced themselves, and then Barbara invited them to her son's birthday. Jeff and his brother were quick to object, but their mother said that they would love to. When Jeff and his family were done packing, Jeff went up to his mother. "Mom, why would you invite us to some kid's party? I mean, if you haven't noticed, I'm not really some dumb little kid anymore." "Now, Jeff," said his mother, "we just moved here. We should show that we want to spend time with our neighbors. Now, we're going to that party, and that is final." Jeff started to talk, but stopped himself, knowing that he couldn't do a damn thing to stop his mother. Whenever his mom said something, it was truly final. He walked up to his room and plopped down on his bed. He sat there, looking at his ceiling, when suddenly he got a weird feeling.
not so much a pain, but just a weird feeling. He dismissed it as just some random feeling when he heard his mother call for him down to get his stuff, which he complied. The next day, Jeff walked downstairs to get breakfast and got ready for school. As he sat there, eating his breakfast, he, once again, got that feeling. This time, it was stronger. It gave him a slight tugging pain. But once again, he dismissed it. As he and Lou finished breakfast, they walked down to the bus stop at the end of the street, and there they sat, waiting for the bus. And then, all of a sudden, some kid on a skateboard jumped right over them, only inches above their laps. They both jumped back in surprise. "Hey, what the hell was that for?" The kid landed and turned back to them. He kicked his skateboard up and caught it right in his hands. The kid seemed to be about 12, 1 year younger than Jeff, wearing a pair of pastel shirt and ripped blue jeans. "Well, well, well. Looks like we got some new kids." Suddenly, 2 other kids appeared. One was super skinny, and the other was huge. "Well, since you're new here, I'd like to introduce ourselves. Over there is Keith." Jeff and Lou looked over to the skinny kid with a dopey face that you would expect a sidekick to have. "And he's Troy." They looked over to the fat kid, who was, for lack of better words, a big tub of lard. The kid looked like he hadn't exercised since he was crawling. "And I am Randy. Now for all the kids in the neighborhood, there is a small bus fare, if you catch my drift." Lou stood up, ready to punch the lights out of the kid's eyes, when one of the friends pulled a knife on him. "I hope you would have been more cooperative, but it seems we always have to do the things the hard way." The kid walked right up to Lou and took the wallet right from his pocket. That's when Jeffrey got that feeling again. Now it was truly strong, a burning sensation. He stood up, but Lou gestured him to sit down. Jeff ignored him and walked right up to the kid. "Listen here, you punk. You give back my brother's wallet, or else." Randy put the wallet into his pocket and pulled out his own knife. "Oh, what are you gonna do?" Just as he finished the sentence, Jeff popped the kid in the nose. As Randy reached for his face, Jeff grabbed his wrist and snapped it. Randy screamed, and Jeff grabbed the knife from his hand. Troy and Keith rushed Jeff, but Jeff was too quick. He threw Randy to the ground. Keith lashed out at him, but Jeff ducked and stabbed him right in the arm. Keith dropped his knife and fell to the ground, screaming. Troy rushed to him, but Jeff didn't even need the knife anymore. He just punched Troy right in the stomach, and Troy fell down. As he fell, he threw up. And Luke could do nothing but look in amazement at his brother Jeff. "Jeff, how did you?" But that was all he said. They saw the bus coming, and they knew they'd be blamed for this whole ordeal. So they quickly bolted. As they ran, they looked back and saw the bus driver rushing over to Randy and the others. As Jeff and Lou made it to school, they didn't dare tell a soul what happened. All they did was sit and listen. Lou just thought of how his brother was crazy. How brutal he was beating up those kids. And Jeff knew that it was more. It was something scary. As he got that feeling, he felt how powerful it was. That urge to just hurt someone. He didn't like it. He didn't like how it sounded. But he couldn't help but feel happy. But he felt the strange feeling go away. And stay away for most of the day. Even as he walked home, due to the whole thing being with the bus stop, he now probably wouldn't be taking the bus anymore, and he felt happy for that. When he got home, his parents asked him how his day was. He said, in somewhat of an ominous voice, "It was a wonderful day." The next morning, there was a knock at his front door. He walked down to find 2 police officers standing at his door, and his mother giving him the most gruesome, angry look he had ever seen.
Jeff! These officers tell me that you attacked 3 kids! That it wasn't even regular fighting, that they were stabbed? Stab, son!
Jeff's gaze fell to the floor, showing that he was truly guilty. "Mom, they were the ones who pulled the knives on me and Lou." "Son," said one of the cops, "we found 3 kids, 2 stabbed, one having a bruise on his stomach, and we have witnesses saying you fled the scene. Now what does that tell us?" Jeff knew it was no use. He could say him and Lou had been attacked, but there was no proof that it was them. They couldn't say that they weren't fleeing, because the truth was told that they were. So Jeff couldn't defend himself, or his poor brother Lou.
"Son, call down your brother."
Jeff couldn't do it, since it was him who had actually beaten up the kids.
Sir, it was me. I was the one who beat up those kids. Lou tried to hold me back, but he couldn't stop me, okay?"
The cop looked at his partner, and they both nodded. "Well, son, I think you're going to have at least a year in juvie."
"Wait!"
They all looked up to see Lou holding a knife. The officers pulled their guns and locked them on Lou.
"It was me! I beat up those punks, and I have the marks to prove it." He lifted up his sleeves to reveal cuts and bruises as if he was in some sort of struggle.
"Son, just put the knife down,"
the officer ordered. Lou held up the knife and let it clang to the floor. He put his hands up and walked over to the cops. "No, Lou, don't do that! It was me! I did it, guys, please! No, Lou!" "Bro, it's okay. It's okay. You don't have to take the blame for what I did. Just take me away, guys." The police led Lou out to the patrol car. "Lou, no! Lou, please, tell them it was me! Tell them it was me who beat up those kids! You get back here, right now! Lou!" Jeff's mother put her hands on Jeff's shoulders. "Jeff, please, you don't have to lie. We know it's Lou. You can stop." Jeff watched helplessly as the car sped off with Lou inside. Not too long after, Jeff's dad pulled into the driveway. Upon seeing Jeff's face, he knew something was immediately wrong. Son, what is it?" But Jeff couldn't answer. His vocal cords were strained from crying. Instead, Jeff's mother walked his father inside to break the bad news, as
Jeff laid in the driveway and wept. After an hour or so, Jeff walked back into the house, seeing the shock, sadness, and disappointment on his parents' faces. He couldn't stand to look at them. He couldn't see how they thought of Lou. Even though it was all his fault, he just wanted to sleep. He wanted to get this whole thing out of his mind. 2 days went by with no word from Lou. No friends staying out with. Nothing but sadness and guilt. That is until Saturday, when Jeff is woken up by his mother, her happy, sun-shining face right in his. "Jeff, today is the day," she said as she opened up the curtains and let the light fill the room. What's today?" asked Jeff as he stirs awake. "Why, it's Billy's party." He was now fully awake. "Mom, you're joking, right? You don't expect me to go to that kid's party after... There was a long pause. "Jeff, we both know what happened. I think this party could be the thing that brightens up the past days that we've had. Now, get dressed." Jeff's mother walked out of the room and downstairs to get ready herself. Jeff fought to get himself up. He picked out some random shirt and a pair of jeans and walked downstairs. That's when he saw his mother and his father dressed up. His mother in a dress and his father in a suit. He thought, why would they ever wear such fancy clothes to just some kid's party? "Son, is that all you're going to wear?" asked Jeff's mom. "That's better than wearing too much," he said. His mother pushed down the feeling to yell at him and hit it with a quaint but creepy smile. "Now, Jeff, we may be overdressed, but this is how you go if you want to make an impression," says his father. Jeff grunted and went back up to his room. "I don't even have any fancy clothes," he yelled down the stairs. "Just pick out something," called his mother. He looked down in his closet for what he could call fancy. He found a pair of black dress pants he had for special occasions and an undershirt. He couldn't find a shirt to go with it, though. He looked around and found only striped and patterned shirts, none of which would go with these ugly dress pants. Finally, he found a white hoodie and just put it on as a substitute. "You're wearing that?" she said. His mother looked at her watch. "Oh, no time to change. Let's just go," she said as Jeff was herded out the door. They crossed the street over to Barbara and Billy's house. They knocked on the door, and appeared Barbara, just like his parents, also way overdressed. As they walked inside, all Jeff could see were adults. There weren't any kids here. "The kids are out in the yard, Jeff. How about you go and meet some of them?" asks Barbara. Jeff walked outside to a yard full of kids. They were running around in awkward cowboy costumes and shooting each other with plastic pop guns. He might as well have been standing in a Toys R Us. Suddenly, a random kid came up to him and handed him a toy gun and a hat. "Hey, wanna play?" he said. Oh no, kid, I'm way too old for this stuff." The kid looked at him with that weird puppy dog face. "Please?" "Fine," says Jeff. He put on the hat and started to pretend to shoot the kids. At first he thought it was totally ridiculous, but then he actually started to have fun. It might not have been super cool, of course, but it was the first time he had done something so wonderful that took his mind off Lou. So he played with the children for a while, until he heard a noise. A weird rolling noise. Then it hit him. Randy, Troy, and Keith had all jumped over the fence on their skateboards. Jeff dropped the fake gun and ripped off the hat. Randy looked at Jeff with a burning hatred. "Hey! Jeff, is it? I think we have some unfinished business." Jeff eyed his bruised nose. "I think we're even. I beat the crap out of you, and you sent my brother to juvie." Randy got an angry look in his eyes. Oh no, I don't go for even. I go for winning. You may have kicked our asses that one day, but that will not happen today." As he said that, Randy rushed at Jeff. They both fell to the ground. Randy punched Jeff in the nose, and Jeff grabbed him by the ears and headbutted him. Jeff pushed Randy off, and both rose to their feet. Kids were screaming and parents were running out of the house. Troy and Keith both pulled out guns out of their pockets. "No one interrupts, or the guts will fly." Randy pulled out a knife on Jeff and stabbed it right into his shoulder. Jeff screamed and fell to his knees. Randy started kicking him right in the face. After 3 kicks, Jeff finally grabbed his foot and twisted it. Randy fell to the ground. Jeff stood up and walked towards the back door. That's when Troy grabbed him. "Need some help?" He picks up Jeff by the back of the collar and throws him through the patio door. As Jeff tries to stand, he's kicked right back down to the ground. Randy repeatedly starts kicking Jeff once again, until Jeff can do nothing but cough up blood. "Come on, Jeff! Come on! You gonna fight me now?" He picks up Jeff and throws him into the kitchen. Randy sees a bottle of vodka in the counter and smashes it over Jeff's head. "Fight! Come on!" He throws Jeff into the living room. "Come on, Jeff! Look at me!" Jeff glances up, his face riddled with blood. "I was the one that got your brother sent to juvie, and you're just gonna sit there and let him rot? You should be ashamed of yourself." Jeff starts to get up. "Oh, finally, you're gonna stand and fight?" Jeff is now on his feet, blood and vodka drenching his face. Once again, he gets that strange feeling. The one he hasn't felt in a while. "Finally, he's up!" Randy grunts as he runs at Jeff. That's when it happens. Something inside Jeff snapped. His psyche is destroyed. All rational thinking is gone. All he can do is murder. He grabs Randy and drives him right into the ground. He gets on top of him and punches him straight into the heart. The punch causes Randy's heart to stop. Randy gasps for breath, begging for life, but Jeff hammers him down, punch after punch after blood, causing attack. Randy oozes blood from his mouth and takes one final breath as he dies. Everyone is looking at Jeff now. The parents, the crying kids, even Troy and Keith. Although they easily break from the gaze of Jeff, sees the guns trained on him and runs for the stairs. As he runs, Troy and Keith let out fire on him. His shot missing. Jeff runs up the stairs. He hears Troy and Keith fall out behind. As they let out their final rounds of bullets, Jeff ducks into the bathroom. He grabs the towel rack and rips it off the wall. Troy and Keith race in, knives at the ready. Troy swings his knife at Jeff, who backs away and bangs the towel rack right into Troy's face. Troy goes down hard, and all that's left is Keith. He's more agile than Troy, though, and ducks when Jeff swings the towel rack. He drops the knife and grabs Jeff by the back of the neck. He pushes him against the wall. A thing of bleach falls on top of him from the top shelf. It burnt both of them, and they started to scream. Jeff wiped his eyes as best as he could. He pulled back the towel rack and swung it against Keith's head. As he lay there, bleeding to death, he let out an ominous smile. "What's so funny?" Jeff snarls. Keith pulls out a lighter and switches it on. "What's funny?" Is that you're covered in bleach and alcohol? Jeff's eyes widen as he throws the lighter at him. As soon as the flame made contact with him, the flames ignited the alcohol in the vodka. While the alcohol burned him, the bleach bleached his skin. Jeff let out a terrible screech as he caught on fire. He tried to roll out the fire, but it was no use. The alcohol had made him a walking inferno. He ran down the hall and fell down the stairs. Everybody started screaming as they saw Jeff, now a man on fire, dropping to the ground, nearly dead. The last thing Jeff saw was his mother and other parents trying to extinguish the flame that was engulfing him. That's when he finally passed out. When Jeff awoke, he had a cast wrapped around his face. He couldn't see anything, but he felt a cast on his shoulder and stitches all over his body. He tried to stand up immediately, but realized that there was a tube in his arm, and when he tried to get up, it immediately fell out and a nurse rushed in. "I don't think you can get out of bed just yet," she said as she put him back in his bed and reinserted the tube. Jeff sat there, no vision, no idea of what his surroundings were. Finally, after what seemed like days, he heard his mother. "Honey, are you okay?" She asks. Jeff couldn't answer, though. His face was covered. He was unable to speak. "Oh, honey, I have great news. After all the witnesses told the police that Randy confessed of trying to attack you, they decided to let Lou go. Lou's free." This made Jeff almost bolt up, but stopping halfway, remembering the tube. "He'll be out tomorrow, and then you two can be together again." Jeff's mother hugs him and says her goodbyes. The next couple of weeks were those where Jeff was visited by his family. Then came a day where his bandages were finally ready to be removed. His family was all there to see it. They wanted to see what Jeff would look like with this new face. As the doctors unwrapped the bandages from Jeff's face, everybody was on the edge of their seats. They waited until the last bandage holding the cover of his face was almost removed. "Let's hope for the best," the doctor murmurs as he quickly pulls the cloth, letting the rest fall from Jeff's face. Jeff's mother screams at the side of his face. Lou and Jeff's dad stare awestruck at his face. What? What happened to my face?" He rushes out of bed and runs towards the bathroom. He looks in the mirror and sees the cause of distress. His face, it was horrible. His lips were burnt a deep shade of red. His face was turned into a pure white color. And his hair was singed from brown to black. He slowly put his hand on his face. It felt leathery now. He looked back to his family, then back to the mirror. "Jeff, it's not that bad," Lou says. "Not bad, it's perfect!" His family was equally surprised. Jeff started laughing uncontrollably as his parents noticed that his left eye and hand were twitching. Jeff, are you okay?" "Okay? I never felt more happy." "Just look at me. This face goes perfectly with me." He couldn't stop laughing. He stroked his face, feeling it, looking at it in the mirror. What caused this? Well, you may recall that when Jeff was fighting Randy, something in his mind, his sanity, had snapped. Now he was just as crazy as a killing machine. That is, except his parents had no idea. "Doctor, is my son alright, in the head?" "Oh yes, this behavior is typical for patients who have taken a very large amount of painkillers. I mean, if his behavior doesn't change in a few weeks, bring him back here, and we'll have a psychologist test him, but he should be fine." "Okay, thank you, doctor." Jeff's mother went over to Jeff.
Jeff, sweetie, it's time to go.
Jeff looks away from the mirror, his face still formed a great smile. "Okay, Mom." His mother took him by the shoulder and took him to get new clothes. "This is what came in," says the lady at the desk. Jeff's mom looks down to see black dress pants and white hoodie, the same ones that her son wore. They were now clean of blood and stitched together, of course. Jeff's mother led him to his room and made him put these clothes on. Then they left, not knowing that it was the last day they would be alive. That night, Jeff's mother woke to the sounds of carving coming from the bathroom. It sounded if someone was crying as well. She slowly walked to see what it was. When she looked into the bathroom, she saw a horrendous sight. Jeff had taken a knife and carved a smile into his cheek.
Jeff, what are you doing?
Jeff looked to his mother. "I couldn't stop smiling, Mom. It hurt after a while. But now, I can smile forever." Jeff noticed her mother's eyes. And Jeff's mother looked back at his eyes, ringed in black.
Jeff? Your eyes?
His eyes seemingly never closed. I couldn't see my face. I got tired, and my eyes started to close. So I burned out my eyelids so I could forever see my beautiful new face. Jeff's mother slowly started to back away, seeing that her son was going insane. "What's wrong, Mom? Don't you think I'm beautiful?"
Yes, son. Yes. Yes, you are. Now, let me get Dad so we can see your face. She ran into the room and shook Jeff's dad to get him awake from the sleep. Honey, get the gun. She stopped as she saw Jeff in the doorway.
"Mommy, you lied." This was the last thing they hear as Jeff rushes them with a knife, gutting both of them. His brother Lou woke up, startled by some strange noises. He didn't hear anything else, so he just shut his eyes and tried to go back to sleep. As he ran on the border of slumber, he got the strangest feeling that somebody was watching him. He looked up, and then Jeff's hand covered his mouth. He slowly raised the knife and plunged it right into him. Lou thrashed, trying to escape Jeff's grip. "Shh. Just go to